2030. Try cranking up the old 2035. More crank, pops right off. Need a new choke, of course, today because it's cold, but started good, running good. Pour up some of the gas out of it. Not much left in the tank, so we figured we let it run a while. Productive. I put the steering bands on the front side of the tractor here. Finally got the bolts rounded up to do that. So of course I goofed and I didn't order enough bolts, so I'll have to order some more before I can put on the other side. Slowly trying to get enough stuff rounded up to put a full set of lugs on the back and obviously steering bands on the front so we can hook up to the plow hopefully next summer sometime, since we didn't get an opportunity this year with all the shows being canceled and whatnot. So maybe next summer we'll get an opportunity to actually take this old girl out and use her a little bit, make her bark. Your hand.
Oh yeah. We're boring out the center of the original spinner knob I'm going to use on the 612 hand crank handle. Got my head machinist here working on it. So that was on a old broken 2035 steering wheel I had kicking around that I was saving just for that application. You know, the spinner knob was good, the rest of it was junk, so I'm gonna salvage the casting from that to put on the new crank handle. Also cleaned up these are the pins for the linkages for your shifter and clutch that go in that main housing that were forgotten back here in Wisconsin. So these are them. I got them pretty well cleaned up, and I removed the little push button grease or oiler fitting that was in there. I got some new ones of them ordered up. They should be here within the next couple of days. I actually ordered them from over in the UK because I looked all around and I couldn't find any source for this size. It's a 3/8 hole, push in, not threaded in, push in, push button oiler. I couldn't find any of them in the US for realistic cost. McMaster-Carr had them, but they were $15 a piece, where I had gotten a whole package of them shipped over from over in the UK over here for, it was like $22 or something for a package of like 20 of them or something. So it was kind of crazy, but you've got to do what you got to do to find the parts, I guess. So those will be pretty much ready to go. I'll bring them back to North Dakota when I go back. There, it put up a struggle, but we finally got that center pin drilled out of there, drilled out, and then punched out the remainder of the little bit that was left in there, cleaned up nicely. So a little sandblast, and that will be ready to go. Maybe we'll even get the new pin made before I go back to North Dakota. So then I can, like I said, bring this back. I'll get my sandblaster working here one of these days, get that sandblasted up, and then we can continue with that part of the project. Friend David Dickmeyer is working on getting the cast handle for the hand crank cast. So we'll have to wait to get that before we can finish that part of the project. But yeah, this was, I wanted to try to use this because this is, obviously original casting part from a 2035, but it's the same spinner knob, same casting. So it makes me feel better using a vintage part on the 612 than making a new one from scratch. So yeah, that's good. That's one more part of the project done. And then we've also been working on, I haven't been filming much, but we've been working on reverse engineering the Bennett air cleaner for the 612. To my knowledge, nobody makes this size of Bennett air cleaner. If you can read that, Bennett carburetor air cleaner, patented April 24th of 17, manufactured by Wilcox Bennett Carb, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Carb Company, Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. So I was fortunate enough to have the original one to use as a pattern, but that's about all it's good for because it is, it's like Swiss cheese. It's just completely rotten. So I carefully uncrimped and removed the top cover and top elbow. So this is the elbow that goes in the top there, and then the tube goes from there to your carburetor then. So as a side note, there again, to my knowledge, nobody makes this elbow. It's two stampings, tin metal stampings, and then the two pieces have two wire rings that go in those grooves on the inside, and it's all soldered together to make your elbow. To my knowledge, nobody makes this size elbow like this. It's a 1 3/8 diameter elbow. There is 1.5 inch available. Somebody has reproduced them, but obviously that's too big for this. So if anybody out there knows, if anybody has made these 1 3/8 elbow like this, I would be very interested to hear from you. Otherwise, we're going to have to figure out how to reproduce these. Because yeah, if we were just worrying about making it for me, for my tractor, we'd be okay because I could reuse this one, clean it up, reuse it. But we are looking at, we're kind of tooling up to potentially make a small run of these if there's enough demand. I've already got an order for one other one. I got my friend Roger. His 612 doesn't have any air cleaner on it, so he wants me to make one for him, which I will. I don't know if there'll be any demand besides that to make these. But like I said, we're kind of tooling up with the idea in the back of our mind that if we can get everything satisfactorily reproduced where we're happy with it, we'll actually maybe make a small batch of these for sale. So there again, if you need one of these, get a hold of me and I'll put you on the potential list. We're not taking actual orders yet because we want to make sure we get everything figured out for sure before we take an order and then realize there's something we can't do. But we're pretty much to the point now where we're confident we can make all these parts. So like I said, I took the top off carefully so you can see what the guts looked like. There's 3 spiral baffles in there where the air comes in through the side underneath the eyebrows. It goes in these channels, shoots down. Sorry, it's kind of dark here, shadowy in the garage. Shoots down towards the bottom and spirals underneath that inner cone out the bottom into a canning jar. The dirt settles in the bottom of the canning jar, and then the rest of the clean air comes up through the top, through your elbow, and to your carburetor. Is how it works. Pretty simple design. It's simple, but yet it's not simple. There's about 25 parts, individual parts, put together to make this and the mounting bracket. So this fits in there and clamps around the body of it to hold it to the tractor. So we'll reproduce that as well. That's fairly simple. That's just flat iron, heated and twisted, and a couple of holes in it. This might be a little bit tricky too. It's actually a piece of tiny stovepipe. There again, 1 3/8. And there again, to my knowledge, this is not available. We haven't really looked at it much yet, but I wonder if a good HVAC place, if they have the capabilities of making custom sized ductwork. I haven't really looked into that. There again, if anybody knows, holler. So as far as what we've gotten done so far, I'll give you just a quick rundown. I'm not going to go through every step of the process here because there again, it's a little bit proprietary, because if we go into small business doing this, we don't want to give away all of our tricks. But we started with forming this bottom cone. That's where we begun our process. So we start with a flat blank of tin. We're just using some scrap tin we had around for now. That's why you see this contact cement and stuff on there. Then we made up some dies. So we stamp it out in the press. And then we put the flange on the bottom, and then we roll it over to crimp on the canning jar ring. These are just sample ones. It'll look actually like this. This is the actual ring. So we got it fitting on there just like the original one. So that brought up a good point too. These jars, they're not regular mouth size mason jars of today. They are obviously not wide mouth jars because that's bigger yet. They are not mini mouth size mason jars, ball jars, because I looked into that too. They are smaller than a regular mouth and bigger than a mini mouth. So I searched high and low on the internet and everywhere, and the closest I could find were these. They're actually a metric size canning jar lid, originally made in Italy, and they happen to look very much like the original picture in the parts manual. I'll try to remember to put up a picture here. So yeah, I was fortunate to find them. They are not, just for future reference, these jars are not a substitute for the original air cleaners. Like I said, they're a little bit, because they're metric, they're a little bit different size. So you can't put the new jars in the old air cleaners. But I wanted something that I could source new, so if you break them or whatever, you can get a replacement jar. I didn't want to find, like we found in our miscellaneous cans and nails and screws and stuff in the cabinet, we found this one old glass jar it actually does work in the original air cleaner. But like I said, to my knowledge, I looked everywhere, but if maybe it's out there somewhere and I couldn't find it. To my knowledge, can't find this size anywhere with this particular canning jar thread on it, because you can compare it to, let's see if I can do this. It's a little, can you see that? It's a little bit bigger than the original jar, and that's assuming this is actually the correct jar for this original air cleaner, which again, it might have been a little bit different. This was 1920. Things might have changed, and they might have had a special source for jars. I don't know, but anyway, I'm happy with that. These are all the different attempts we have made to get to this point. There's been a lot of research and development going on. Our first few attempts were very ugly, but we didn't know what we were doing, so we figured it out as we went. You can see I've been numbering them. They get better. 4, 5, 6 is starting to look a little bit more respectable. By 7, we got the wrinkling thing eliminated, and the smooth cone, and the right size flange and everything. And then, like I said, we figured out how to roll it over. We made up some special dies and stuff for that. So we pretty much got that part and how to connect that part figured out. The top will be a very similar process, but it is a different angle. It is a more shallow cone. And there again, it's I guess important to note here that we are making it to the exact specs of the original. We're exactly reverse engineering this whole thing. So all the angles, all the sizes, it'll be as original, exactly, or as close as humanly possible. So like I said, that top ring will be very similar process, just a different set of dies to do that. So then we been working on here the last couple days on figuring out how to reproduce these inner helix pieces. And that's a little more complicated than a guy thinks, because it's like I said, it's a helix. It's not actually a flat. It's not like a carburetor butterfly in there where it's just a slice of a cylinder. It's a helix. It's a spiral. It's like a grain auger flighting. Is the best example I've been trying to give to people. So we did a bunch of calculations and measurements and figured out there's a piece of stock that fits in there. So we traced it out and figured out the what do you want to call it? The ratio in how it arcs up and everything, and we came up with a little hammer form here that we can cut out a template of tin and basically bend and form this piece here. And then we made some templates for the sides. We just got it clamped together currently. We're going to work on a little practice soldering here in the near future. But this is one of the 3 inner pieces, all reverse engineered, like I said, to the exact size and shape. So we'll work on soldering next. And we've got that inner cone to do yet, and those crisscross pieces to do, and then obviously the body of the can, the eyebrows left to do. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot involved in this one little air cleaner. I mean, we've got literally, we've been at this at least probably 4 or 5 days now. We spent working on and making up, like I said, all of our dies and our fixtures and things to do this whole process. We've got other ones over here. For each different step needs a different die, and to punch out the lids and center it, and it's a whole process. And we've gone through a couple different variations of these to get it to come out right. Because like I said, you all know I'm very much a perfectionist, so I'm not happy until it comes out like it should. And it is. It's coming out perfect cone. There's no deformities in there. And then we'll make up some dies for the bead roller. I've showed you that before in past videos where I rebuilt that. So we'll make up some new dies for the right applications for crimping on the top and bottom to the center can. Come on, I'll go back on there now. And I came up with a stand here a while back. We made up had to make up a new threaded base for it to clamp it on the table. And actually that made up a little insert collar, because this is actually for a lot bigger roller of some sort. But the price was right because it was basically damaged. It didn't have this. So we took it to the lathe and made up a new one. Works just fine for what we're doing. So now we can actually clamp the bead roller to the bench and use it when that day comes. So that'll be hopefully happening in the near future. Make up some dies for that. We spent a couple of days going through the valve grinding machine and getting that all tuned up. We actually had a second valve grinding machine all tuned up, and we sold that to a friend of mine here. So I made a little bit more room in the shop. We got lots of stuff going on here. I made up another fixture here for the air cleaners for trimming the radius on them. Yeah, we've been busy. So yeah, I think that kind of gets you caught up to date what we've been doing here. We're going to go down on Monday to Norm's and pick up my engine and steering box, and clutch parts. So that's exciting. So I'll obviously give you a big update when that day comes. But I figured I'd just show you what we've been up to. Been a few weeks since I put up a video here, but we've been busy, just not necessarily a lot to show you yet. I was kind of waiting to get enough to put together a video. So, all right, I'll sign off for now, and thank you for watching. There. We're spring winding experts now, or at least rookies. So there was the original spring I needed reproduced because I wasn't confident this one would hold up. It's pretty corroded. And there's the new one, exactly like it. So we made up a little mandrel here. It's pretty simple. Got a hole in it for the appropriate sized spring wire, piano wire, to feed into the mandrel. We just use like a hitch pin, not a hitch pin, whatever you call that kind of pin, clamped in the tool post as a guide. I clamped a set of vice grips on the end here, set the lathe to the appropriate feed rate for the number of coils per inch that you want, and just a piece of cake. It worked out good. We just clipped off the ends with some bolt cutters, and as far as mandrel size, you just kind of got to guess there, because when you wind it, you have some spring back, of course, once you relieve the tension. So our first attempt was too big, so we just went to a little bit smaller mandrel, and by dumb luck, we got it right. So yeah, excellent. One more piece of the puzzle taken care of.